My name is Iris Griffin, and I'm here with you today to discuss the dairy industry and why we should stop supporting it. So, growing up in America, you most likely heard positive info on why you should consume dairy. I mean, famously researched information that has been fed to us to keep us from questioning exactly the true effects of the dairy in our health. Remember the slogan, got milk? Well, it's more like got cancer. And the slogan that drinking milk helps us with strong bones is basically laughable. And don't even get me started on that California Happy Cows BS. So, my goal is to challenge everyone to try dairy alternatives. And upon my further research, it confirmed my actual doubts on the health benefits of dairy. Today, I want to discuss with everyone on how dairy consumption is literally bad for the entire planet. Humans, the cows, the earth, it's just bad in general. And then I'll also want to talk about how the secrets of the health effects of dairy are sustained due to lobbying. Then we'll wrap things up with talking about some great, healthy, and tasty dairy alternatives that are actually healthy for human consumption. Unfortunately, dairy consumption is cancerous. This is due to the high hormonal levels that are found in cow's milk. Now, these hormone levels are just basically unhealthy for humans. Although we do need hormone consumption, um, it's definitely found in human breast milk. The amount of hormones that is adjusted in cow's milk for their babies is far beyond the amounts that humans need. So once our body computes the amount of hormones from the milk that it actually needs, that all of that excess hormone ends up in our bodies, and it helps to sustain cancer production, which is very unfortunate. A lot of people who drink high levels of dairy are going to make themselves susceptible to the increased chances of cancer, usually reproductive cancers. Men have found that they have increased levels of prostate cancer. Women have found that they have increased levels of uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, and as well as breast cancer. My most recent research claim to this is sustained by the feasibility of prostate cancer of 2017, and it quotes, there is increasing evidence that low levels of physical activity and diet and low levels of fruit and veggies, as well as a high level of meat and dairy, are risk factors for prostate cancer progression. Further research connects increased dairy consumption to reproductive cancers in men and women, but I cannot find recent research claims that supports this. However, you can always refer back to the book Cowed by the Haynes. It's a married couple that created the book, or Milk Money by Kurt Kardashian. It has plenty of information connecting dairy consumption to cancer. All right, now moving on. Now, remember when I said that the dairy consumption leads to healthy, strong bones, or something like that, is laughable? Well, in my research findings, it found that osteoporosis, is milk a kindness or a curse? 2017 notes that in all age groups, including children, postmenopausal women, consuming cow's milk and even powdered milk supplements is associated with a slower bone turnover. This basically means that our bones are constantly being broken down and rebuilt by osteoblasts and osteocytes. Those are cells that live in our bones and help to maintain our bone density. However, high levels of dairy consumption it's found that it actually slows down the bone replacement. So instead of helping our bones to become stronger, it actually is speeding up the depletion of our bones. And unfortunately, as we get older, osteoporosis naturally just sets in. The cells start dying off that rebuild our bones, and the bones start to break down. It's just natural. However, in a healthy human, especially in your mid 20s, you should be able to find that there is constant replacement of the bone that is taken out by our osteoblasts and our osteoclast cells. So that basically means is when the new bone isn't forming fast enough to replace older bone depletion, which leads, of course, as I said previously, to osteoporosis. This is the exact thing that milk claims to protect against. That's very ironic. Now, even if you don't drink dairy, unfortunately, you are still going to be affected by dairy production. This is due to what is called negative externalities. Now, those who study microeconomics or are business majors or just enjoy some business leisurely reading may have heard this word before. An externality is basically how the public and the world pays for the production of a particular product. There are positive externalities such as education, being paid and subsidized by the government, and then there are negative externalities such as pollution. Now, pollution is what we're going to discuss next. Now, stated in the Humane Dairy will always support factory farm dairy 2017, it's quoted that methane is a far more potent greenhouse than carbon dioxide due to its ability to significantly trap more heat. Methane is also stored in open air lagoons. Actually, my bad, that's manure. Is stored in open air lagoons and pollutes our drinking water with deadly pathogens, antibiotics, and hormones, creating toxic aquatic dead zones due to excess pollutants. Dead zones are basically created when too many pollutants and too many pathogens enter the area. That means that no wildlife can grow, no plants can grow, no fish can continue to sustain their livelihood within the waters. It's literally nothing is able to grow there. And these dead zones are more reoccurring than you think, unfortunately. And also, if you don't know, methane is a chemical that comes from cows' burps and farts, and it's literally eroding our ecosystem. So, we will next be discussing how towns closest to dairy farms get the worst of that pollution. All right. So, as we left off, towns closest to dairy farms get the worst of the pollution. And before, I never even thought of how the dairy farms in my hometown of Stockton would possibly affect my loved ones' health as well as my own. San Joaquin County, which is my home county, is ranked on the American Lung Association twice in the top 10 of the worst polluted cities by ozone. The pollution causes several severe respiratory issues that are expensive to treat. It is quoted in the book Cowed by the Hayes that it costs upward to $1,600 per person to treat any issues in regards to upper respiratory problems regarding the air pollution caused by dairy consumption as well as dairy production. Now, most people in the San Joaquin County are usually very poor, so it becomes very expensive to constantly treat ailments such as asthma, colds that can come from allergies due to pollutants in the air. It's just not a very good health environment. It often had me wondering during my research was all the times that I was sick or had really bad allergies due to it being just a natural occurrence, or the fact that the air quality in my hometown was horrible. Whenever you drive into Stockton, you pass up dairy farm after dairy farm after dairy farm. As a matter of fact, I remember in my high school at Ronald McNair, I would smell manure every morning. And when you smell something, it's usually also the chemical that comes with it. That smell of manure was more than likely methane, and constantly breathing in methane is not good for us. So, moving on. Although the pollution causes the severe upper respiratory issues for humans, cows don't have it any better either. The slaughter industry and the dairy industry are connected. Growing up, I thought that those two were totally separate, And it just never occurred to me that the dairy industry and the slaughter industry were one and one. Here's how it happens. Once cows stop producing milk, they're sent to the slaughterhouse. This is due to over milking, growth hormones, not taking proper care of the cows, and eventually the udders just break down and they dry up. So a cow's lifespan is upwards to about 25 to 30 years if left naturally alone. Unfortunately, in the dairy industry, the cow's lifespan is only a measly 5 years. And it was found in an undercover video on shows the Florida dairy farm workers using blowtorches on the cows in 2017. That same article also showed in the video where the cows were being stabbed with pitchforks in their udders and backsides. And then, unfortunately, due to the over milking of the cows, this also can cause mastitis. Mastitis in Dairy Cattle 2017 describes mastitis as an inflammation of the udder glands causing painful swelling of the udders due to over milking and growth hormone therapy. Mastitis, if left untreated, has a 17% death rate. It also makes the cow's udders swell to an uncomfortable levels. It makes it heavy for them to carry, and it slows down their movement. I don't know if this would be a reason why someone working on a dairy farm would lose patience with the cows, but unfortunately, dairy cows are usually subjected to a lot of severe punishment, and their health isn't upkept either. Often watching these videos, I found that the cows had sores on their faces and their udders, and there was pus leaking from their udders as well. And I will get back to you more on how that pus is often found in our milk, and it's totally legal. So, yes, and the pus usually ends up getting sucked out of the cow's udders during milk collection, and it can survive the pasteurization process. So in a previous article that I read during my research for my argumentative essay, it was found that legally it is allowed for 750,000 units of pus to be found in a gallon of milk. The government wanted to decrease it to 250,000 units of pus, but the dairy industry lobbied in order to keep that amount at 750,000 units of pus, where it currently still stands today. Now, you would think with all this info, the public would be aware of the dangers of dairy. However, this is where lobbying comes in.